My name is Jessica Maxwell, and my role is Risk Management Specialist at Harvey Cleary. So Harvey Cleary's overall strategy when it comes to managing risk on projects is a very conservative approach. We do this through three different methods: safety, risk transfer, and risk avoidance. The safety of our employees and subcontractors is a top priority within the entire company, so it has a major impact in determining how we assess risk on each project because we don't compromise on our safety standards. As we analyze risk, we also implement risk transfer techniques by purchasing insurance and risk transfer within our contracts if it's reasonable to do so. And in addition, we try not to take on more risk than we're comfortable with, and if we do determine that a project has a high risk, we will sometimes just avoid the project. We use Jones to collect, review, and manage subcontractor insurance certificates and endorsements for all our projects across the country. They check to ensure that all required coverages are present and active and meet our subcontract requirements, and they provide an easy-to-read report to our subcontractors on exactly what needs to be addressed. I stay logged into Jones all day long because of how often I reference it to respond to emails, both internally and with third-party vendors. So this screen is always up for me every day. So the first thing I do every day when I log into Jones is I check the compliance numbers on the dashboard. I'm always aware of what our compliance status is, how many records we have active, how many projects we have active, and what our compliance rate is, so that I can also tell when the number has shifted. And this gives me an idea on what to expect that day. If there's been a drop in compliance, likely we had a lot of records expire, and I can probably plan on an influx of certificates coming in, which means an influx of potential questions. So it helps me set up my day well to see where we stand each day by looking at this main page. And then I will oftentimes also reference the dashboard, especially if I see a change in our compliance rate, because I want to know exactly what happened. Did we have a large number of records expire that month? Is it the first of the month? Items like that. One of the main reasons I keep the Jones website up all day long referencing it is because a lot of the questions that I receive are based specifically in the endorsements, for example, because Jones manages the compliant, non-compliant statuses, sends out the necessary emails, letting the subs know that status. Oftentimes the questions that come to me have to do with, is this coverage that you're asking for really necessary for our scope of work? Or why don't you accept these specific endorsements? Explain point by point why. One of the things that I will immediately do is pull up the record. I want to know what it is, what the problem is. Here. And so I want to take a look at exactly what Jones has flagged after I read the email from the subcontractor, or possibly from one of our project managers wanting to know what's wrong. And once I get context for what the question or the problem is, then I go into the specific record. I take a look at the vendor history to see what the status is, when something was uploaded, how many emails have gone out, and then I'll look at the actual gaps that have been flagged. And then I'll look at the certificate and endorsements themselves based on the question to see what the subcontractor has submitted and if there is anything further that does need to be addressed with respect to the issue that has been raised. And then I will also have Procore up all day long just to reference the subcontracts and what the scope of work for each of these subcontractors is. And then I pair that information together. So with the new Jones side panel, all I have to do is navigate to the specific project and go to the list of commitments on that project. And it's very helpful that the side panel shows up with reference to the Commitments tab in Procore, because this is where specifically our project assistants spend a lot of time in Procore, uploading documents to each commitment record, creating new commitment records. And so it is very helpful that the side panel is attached to this specific page. And so if we open up a specific commitment, the side panel automatically pops out. And it's a mirror image of what is on the Jones website. And this allows our project teams who maybe haven't even set up their login in Jones yet, because the higher ups aren't in there as often. Some of our VPs or senior PMs don't need to reference it as much, but this allows them to see a mirror image of what's actually in the Jones website, so they can see if the record is compliant, if it's non-compliant, and what the actual issues are. And they don't ever have to navigate out of Procore, which is where they spend the majority of their time with all the other work that they do. The other benefit to this side panel is it helps our project teams be more self-sufficient with the information. It allows risk management to focus on helping them in all the other areas of contract review, bonding, items such as that, versus telling them the specific gaps. They can just reference that for themselves. The information is quickly and readily available, and they don't need to wait on risk management to respond to an email to list what they can easily see in the side panel. I go through a lot of reports. I generate a lot of reports from this page that I either use for my own purposes of reviewing our data, or I will create reports that I can send out to our project teams so they have a better idea of where things stand, any items that might need to be addressed, if we're seeing any trends with certain subcontractors. So the reports page is another one that I spend a lot of time on. So for the user management report, I'm looking for any projects we might be able to archive. So by creating a report that lists the project assistants on each project, I can forward it to them. They can sort by their name, and they can confirm which projects are complete, because they're going to be the ones with the greatest knowledge on that. They're aware of what's going on a day-by-day basis with these projects and with these subcontractors, whether or not final payments have been issued. And so they can see which projects are still active and attached to their name, and they can let me know. They can follow up with the project teams, and they can let me know which ones can potentially be archived. And that way we can keep our records accurate, current, and well manicured. And then one of the other reports that I use consistently is the master compliance list, and I use this for several different reasons. One of them is just compliance status of all the records. And what I'm specifically looking for is, sometimes when I run the report, what I'm specifically looking for is subcontractors that have never provided a certificate since the record was created. Some of these records might be for subcontractors that are no longer on a project and just need to be archived. So this helps us keep things more up to date and removes non-compliant records that don't even need to be active, skewing our compliance percentage. One of the other things I use the master compliance list report for is to review subcontractors who are on multiple projects that might not yet be set up as an annual subcontractor. And this gives me a comprehensive view of which subcontractors are on 5, 10, 15 projects and on average, are always compliant. They might be a really good candidate to become an annual subcontractor with us. So as I mentioned, the main graph that I look at every day is on the main page. And once I have a general idea for whether or not anything has changed much from the prior day, I will then go reference the dashboard to just get further details. And one of the tables I've started looking at more often is the expiring records per month, because this gives me a really clear idea of what to expect for that month. How many records are going to become non-compliant because they're expired? It helps give us a heads up on letting our project teams know what's about to happen. And some of the other tables I do reference are things like our waivers, or what items our subcontractors are most often complying with, and which ones they could use more work on that we might need to evaluate how we approach them in the initial discussion of signing the subcontract. And so these are charts that allow risk management to have a better idea of what our subcontractors are providing versus what we're requiring. And so we can then better inform project management on what the biggest gap areas are. And so they have a better idea of what might need to be addressed in initial contract negotiations.